Welcome to Harvesting Clouds, where we take a practical approach to learning and leveraging clouds. In this video, we are going to talk about how to securely access your Azure Storage accounts. In this video, we will be primarily looking at two scenarios. The first scenario is you are an administrator and you are connecting to the storage account. You're less worried about the security and you want all the operations to be available. You want yourself to be able to connect to the storage account and perform all the operations like uploading data, deleting the data, editing the data, etc. The second scenario we are going to be looking at is you have a vendor coming into your organization and you want to provide that vendor access to your storage account. Now, how can you ensure security so that that vendor gets access only for a certain period of time and only the access that is required? And after the vendor is gone, that access should be revoked automatically. So let's look at the first scenario first. You are an administrator, you want to connect to the storage account, you want to perform a couple of tasks. How are you going to go about that? So here I'm already logged into the Azure portal. I'll navigate to my storage account. I have a couple of ways of doing this. I can click on the three lines, click on all services, and then under storage, I have storage accounts. Alternatively, I can search for storage accounts at the top, and then it is the first option that shows up. I also have the option from the home page. Since I recently navigated to my storage account, I can simply click on the storage account and navigate to it. Now, when connecting to your storage account, you do not need to connect to Azure. What I mean by that is, from any tool, from PowerShell, from API, from automation, when you are going to connect to storage account, you do not need to authenticate with Azure. You have something called access keys. Leveraging these access keys and the name of the storage account itself, you can connect to the storage account and perform all the operations. So for this particular video, we are going to use Storage Explorer as the tool to connect to the storage account. We need internet connectivity so that we are able to connect to this particular storage account over HTTPS. That is, we are connecting securely. The connection is always encrypted, but we are connecting through a public endpoint. So the name of the storage account itself, it is unique in the whole Microsoft Azure namespace. If I have this name, then you cannot create a storage account with the same name. You will get an error. So I need this particular storage account name. And the second thing that I need is the keys for this particular storage account. And those keys you can find under settings under access keys. Now these keys are dangerous. I recommend that you do not use these keys unless until you are connecting as an administrator. In fact, even then, I would discourage getting into the habit of using these keys. These are like the keys to the kingdom. Once anyone has these keys, then they have complete and unrestricted access to your storage account. So there are always two keys, a primary key and a secondary key. So let's say you have these keys and somebody gets hold of these keys. That means these keys are compromised. What can you do about this? Do you need to delete the whole storage account, copy over the data into a secondary storage account? No. You can regenerate the keys. So this icon, the refresh icon, it's actually for regenerate. If you hover your mouse over this, it does say in the tooltip, regenerate. So if I click on this, it will regenerate this key for me. So right now, I'll copy this key. I'll switch over to the Storage Explorer and we'll try to connect to this particular storage account. So here I am in the Storage Explorer. To be able to connect to the storage account, I need to click on this plug kind of icon, which opens the connect dialog. Now in this dialog, I have multiple options. I can either authenticate to my Azure account by connecting and logging into my Azure account, and I will be able to see all the storage accounts. But if I do not need that, I can click on the connection string option, or I can use this option, use a storage account name and the key. I'll click on next. I'll give any name that, this name does not matter. This is just for your management purpose in the Storage Explorer. I'll say testcon with primary key 01. I need the storage account key, and then storage account name is also required. So I'll navigate back, copy the name of the storage account, switch back to the Storage Explorer, paste the name under account name, hit next. It says, it gives you the warning that make sure you only connect to resources that you trust. There could be malicious data on the storage account. So after clicking on the connect button, it immediately connects to that particular storage account. If your key is accurate and the name of the storage account is accurate, it will connect to that particular storage account within a matter of times. I can double click on blob containers to expand it. You can see that I have 2 containers under this. So this is a simple way. You leverage your key, you provide the storage account name, and then you are able to connect to the storage account. And you do not need to authenticate or anything. Now in here, this is the connection string. Connection string is nothing. It just gives me the whole detail that you are leveraging HTTPS. Account name is also inbuilt into the connection string, and account key. This is the same key that you see up here. SB, VPU, NN, and so on. This is the exact same key that is being listed over here. So connection string is a specific way that Storage Explorer understands, or the API, when you are going to provide a connection string, it will understand. So this is an alternate way of connecting to the same storage account. Let's give it a try. Click to copy this to your clipboard. Switch back to the Storage Explorer. And then let me detach this. Let me disconnect this. So now I'll navigate back to the connect to Azure Storage Wizard. This time I'll use a connection string. I'll click on next, provide a display name, and then provide that connection string. It will automatically infer what are the underlying details. It will automatically infer the storage account name and the account key from that. And as soon as I hit connect, I will be able to connect to my storage account. So this is the first way. Now you are connecting as an administrator. You can perform all the operations. You can see all the files in here. There is only one image file. This is your blob, your actual object. You can upload files, you can download these files, you can delete the files, you can create snapshots, you can perform all kinds of operations on this particular container and on these objects within the container. Now you have the second scenario. This is the first scenario. You are connecting as an administrator. The second scenario is you have a vendor. You want to give him access, but only the access that you require. Number one. Number two, you want to give that vendor access only for a particular duration of time. Let's see how to configure that. Let me disconnect this particular storage account for now so that we have a clean slate. And let's switch back to the Azure portal. So here, access key is the one way of doing the things. We do not want to leverage these when we are giving access to a vendor, since we already discussed that these are the keys to the kingdom. You get unrestricted access to your storage account when you are using these keys. So what is the alternate way of doing the things? The most secure way of accessing your Azure storage account. It's called shared access signature. And you can find that by navigating to settings and the option shared access signature. It's also called SAS tokens or just SAS. And you can see the description, what it is. But let's look at it in a practical manner and you will automatically understand what a SAS token is. It's simply a URI that where you define which services you are going to give access to. You are going to give access to blob, file, queue, table. You can pick and choose. For example, you can say, I'm only going to give access to blob and file. I'm not going to give access to queue and table structures within my storage account. And then you can say that only the service container or the individual objects, whether the access should be given to all these resource types or only to specific ones. For example, you can say, I do not want the end user to create containers. I only want them to upload files and download files or delete files. So you can remove the access from service and container and give them access only to object. For now, let's keep the default entries. Then allowed permissions. Now this is where the power of SaaS token comes into play. Now here you can pick and choose. You can cherry pick. You want to give them only read access. You will uncheck all these options. One option that you will still check is the list option. List will list out all the objects, and then they have the read access. They will be able to read the data, but they will not be able to do anything about the data. They will not be able to upload. To give them upload access, you need to give them write access. They will not be able to delete unless until you select the checkbox for deletion, addition, creation, update, and process. These are the different permissions. You can cherry pick which one you want to give access to the vendor. The next is the answer to the second part of the problem, that you want to give them access only for a particular duration of the time. Let's say the vendor's contract is for the next month. So we'll give them access by clicking on this button and selecting a date, a month out. So they will only get access for 1 month. And then you can select the time zone. And then at this particular time in this time zone, the end user will stop having access. You can even specify allowed IP addresses, and then the access to this storage account will be allowed only from these IP addresses. And then you can specify allowed protocols. I highly recommend that you should leave it at default, that is HTTPS only. HTTP is very dangerous. Your connection is unencrypted. I highly recommend that you do not select this second option. The first option is the only secure option. Then to create the SaaS token as well, the underlying key needs to be provided. So here you can provide key number 1 or key number 2. And this is the key that it will use internally to generate the SaaS token. When you will click on generate SaaS and connection string, it will generate all these connection strings and SaaS token. SaaS token will look something like SV equals, then there will be a date. This is the service version. And then you have multiple details related to the SaaS token. The connection string is the mostly used one that you will use to connect to your storage account. But you can connect to any individual service by using a SaaS URL. For example, if you want to connect only to Blob, you will select this particular URL. Now, from connection perspective, this connection string is going to look similar to what we did when we connected through the access keys. But now here the key difference is the access is going to be limited if you uncheck some of these boxes, and the access will automatically expire at the end of this particular duration, the expiry time that you set over here. So I'll switch back to the Storage Explorer. I'll click on this button to open the connect dialog. And in here, I'll select use a connection string. I'll hit next, provide a name, and then provide the connection string. Hit next. It will provide me all the details, all the different endpoints. That this is the endpoint, this is the URL for the blob, this is a URL for accessing file. This is what it internally uses. This is what Azure Storage Explorer internally uses to connect to your storage account service. So when I will click on containers, internally this is the URL it is invoking with this additional detail. And this additional detail is authenticating the Storage Explorer with Azure and with that particular storage account specifically. So as soon as I hit connect, similar to before, the connection is being displayed. I can expand the blob containers and I'll be able to see the same containers that I did before. And since I select everything right now, I can perform all the operations, but if I did not select anything, any checkbox, I will not be able to perform those operations. So the last point that I want to make here is that you should copy these connection strings or SaaS tokens because these are not displayed again. So once you go back, you have to generate a new SaaS token or a new connection string. These will not be provided again. So now you know, this is a secret sauce. This is the best practice, how you should be giving access to your storage account. Now, there is a caveat. both access keys and connecting through SaaS URI or the connection string using shared access signature, these both are going through the internet. You are still connecting, but you still need an internet connectivity. What if you want to restrict it further? What if you want to only be able to access over a private network? Let's say you have a virtual machine on your private network and you want to access the storage account only from that particular network. That is something we will be seeing in action in the upcoming video. For now, to recap, we saw how to connect to the storage account using the access keys as an administrator, and then we saw how to leverage shared access signature to securely connect with my storage account. Before you jump on to the next video, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that you are notified of the latest content. Hit that like button if you like the content in this video. Let me know in the comments below what other topics you want me to cover in the subsequent videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.